أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, we will begin studying the book Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our intentions sincere for Him and to remove any possibility of showing off coming into our hearts. I ask Allah ta'ala to allow us to benefit from this book and help us to strive in its memorization of the text and understanding the text. I've decided to go through this book, which is a book in Hanbali Fiqh. And inshallah, everyone will be able to benefit from it. Now, it's important to know what type of book this is. You know it's a fiqh book, but sometimes you have fiqh books, you can find the advanced ones in which it mentions every different madhahib and all the evidences and all the different opinions within those madhahib, what some scholars say, what some other scholars say. But this book is a beginner's book. Yes, some start with Bidayatul Abid, but I believe that this book, inshallah, Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat, if you only want to go through Fiqh al-Ibadat, because that's what Bidayatul Abid does. It's a beginner's book in Hanbali Fiqh, which only goes through Fiqh al-Ibadat, the worship. So it doesn't speak about transactions or marriage or the punishment for certain crimes. This book, Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat, it does. However, if one only wanted to study the acts of worship, which includes tahara, cleansing yourself, salah, zakat, fasting during Ramadan, Sawm, and Hajj, as well as Umrah and Jihad, according to the madhab, then they can just go through it in Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat. I believe, inshallah, it is better. Now, Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat, it means out of all the books in which they tried, summarizing it, using less words, sticking to one opinion, this is the most concise of all the concise fiqh books in the Hanbali madhab. And he explains this, why the author, rahimahullah, had named it this. So before we start, just a few things to mention. Again, this is the introduction. And our idea in this is not to go through every masail and mention their evidences one by one and what we believe from our limited minds the correct opinion to be. That's not what I intend to do. Because nonetheless, if you are a beginner, then you do not know which one is the correct opinion. Someone might tell you a hadith and their interpretation makes sense to you, but do not for 1 second believe it's your own interpretation. That's all we're doing. That's not what's upon you. Al-Muwaffaq Ibn Qudamah, rahimahullah, he authored Umdatul Fiqh, which just mentioned one opinion for each masail. Then Al-Muqni', which would mention two opinions. Then Al-Kafi, which would mention more opinions. Then Al-Mughni, which would mention the different madhahib. Why did he do this? Because a person studies fiqh, studies knowledge, all types of knowledge, in steps. He does not go straight to studying the big books. A person who's learning hadith does not go straight to Sahih al-Bukhari. He'll have to start off with a smaller book first. Go through the basic hadith. That's what is appropriate for a beginner to do, especially one who does not know Arabic. Because how can you could go to English sources and say that you are understanding the primary sources. Of course, if you only know English, then by all means learn it in English. That's why I am teaching in English. But nonetheless, I study this book in Arabic. And it's best to study Islamic knowledge in Arabic, to study Quran in Arabic. And the best thing for you to do is study Arabic and the Arabic language. Focus on that. Spend a year just solely learning Arabic language, and of course doing little things here and there. But the main thing, let it be Arabic language. The main thing. Then you'll see studying knowledge, inshallah, becomes easier for you. For I won't have to sit there translating Arabic text. You can do that. And you can just listen to someone explaining it, not having to translate it. You skip a few steps, you can say. And again, it's wrong for someone to say, oh, but no, we're meant to follow the evidence. Because these scholars, they follow the evidences. It's how they interpreted the evidence. And they were the scholars who could do it. Because they mastered all the sciences to be able to do it. They mastered the Arabic language. They mastered the understanding of the Quran. They mastered the understanding of a hadith. See, studying usul hadith, oh, this hadith is weak, this hadith is sahih, this hadith is hasan. That does not mean that you are then able to instantly start understanding fiqh. Because a faqih and a muhaddith are different things. The muhaddith, all he looks at is the chain. He looks at, okay, this chain has this person and that person, that person. Oh wait, this person, he was a liar. This hadith is da'if. He's not going to sit there looking at the matan. He might have a scan through it and realize, wait a minute, this matan, the text, it says something else. I'll give you an example. So the sanad will be, for example, we'll say, an Umar radiallahu anhu. We'll say from Umar, who heard the Prophet say. That's the isnad, the chain. When the matan is the text, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. That's the text. The faqih's job is to look at the text. And generally the faqih will need to be muhaddith as well, so he can look at it if the hadith is sahih and weak. So you can see they're different things. Because then the faqih will look at إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ and start explaining it. How does that apply to fiqh? How does that apply when you're doing wudu? How does that apply when you're trading? How does that apply when you are getting married? How does that apply in every statement you say? That's what the faqih looks at. And Allah Ta'ala had guided us to what we should do. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, then ask the people who know. Ask the people of knowledge. And how do we do this? We do not do this by instantly going to a book which mentions 10 different madhabs and trying to understand it ourselves. We have to start somewhere. Yes, learn the evidences. You will learn the evidences in time, but start from the beginning. You're not going to teach a 5-year-old kid and start telling him, this is the daleel, and that's the daleel, and this is the daleel for why you must stand in salah. This is the daleel why you must, or why it's sunnah to put your right hand over the left. This is the daleel for why you raise your hands while you're going to ruku'. No, you're just going to tell him to do that. And then, and the truth is, most of us who may study in English language when we're 15, 16, 17, maybe even if you start off at 25, we probably won't be much different from the 7, 8, 9-year-old, because we will know as much as he does. We pray like this, we do Hajj like this. And you might have better understanding of Hajj and Umrah, but generally you're not going to be far from him. So you have to start in levels. You do not start learning algebra in your first year ever of school. The most you will do is probably learn some few numbers. Then the year after that you start adding and subtracting. Then the year after that you start timesing and multiplying and dividing, and maybe a bit of brackets. And then you start building, and to the point where after 9 years you're learning like 50 things in that year compared to learning 1 thing or 2 things when you first started. And the year after that you're learning 200 things. So every form of knowledge is taken in steps. Inshallah. So just another side point, so moving on. As for the shuruhat of this book, the explanations, there is the Sharh Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat by Markaz al-Tibyan, I think it is. SubhanAllah. Yeah, I think it's that. That one is good because it's generally what I'd recommend someone to go on to after this if they want to carry on focusing on Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat. If not, and they're saying no, I'm good to Zad al-Mustaqni', then I would say okay, at least they should read Al-Hawashi al-Sabighat by Shaykh al-Qu'aymi rahimahullah ta'ala. Sorry, hafidhahullah ta'ala. This is a more modern book and it adds important masail which a person definitely must read and learn about in today's time. It's more modern, so the Sheikh knows and understands what will be better to be mentioned today. Maybe in 30 years' time, someone else will come about and say what will be better, what else will be better to memorize. Another classic sharh explanation is Kashf al-Mukhadirat by al-Ba'li rahimahullah, Imam al-Ba'li. And this simply just adds more masail and of course explains what needs to be explained. So continuing on, the Mu'allif, the author. Oh, subhanallah, I didn't even mention who the author is. The author is more commonly known as Ibn al-Balban, rahimahullah ta'ala, or al-Balbani. His name Muhammad bin Badr al-Din al-Balbani al-Dimishqi al-Hanbali, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he says, Alhamdulillah al-Mufaqqih man sha'a min khalqihi fi ad-din. All praise is due to Allah, the one who grants understanding to whoever he wills from his creation in regards to the religion. Of course, alhamd. What is alhamd? It's praising the one who is worthy of being praised, or describing the one who is worthy of being praised with the utmost perfection, with love and reverence. Why do we add with love and reverence? Because a person might praise a king, but he's just doing it to earn some money. He's not doing it out of love, nor out of reverence. He's just doing it because he wants some money. So he says, "Oh king, you're so great. Give me £10,000." But Allah Ta'ala, you should praise him because you love him. And he's done so much for us. Granted us so much blessings in our lives. Guided us to Islam, which is the best blessing we can get. And even when we show gratitude to him, that in of itself is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, وَالصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ الْأَمِينِ الْمُؤَيَّدِ بِكِتَابِهِ الْمُبِينِ الْمُتَمَسِّكِ بِحَبْلِهِ الْمَتِينِ. And you say peace and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad al-Amin, the trustworthy, al-Mu'ayyad, the one who was supported بِكِتَابِهِ الْمُبِينِ, by his clear book. Whose clear book? Allah Ta'ala referring to? The Quran. Al-Mutamassik, the one who held firmly بِحَبْلِهِ الْمَتِينِ, to his strong, firm rope. وَعَلَى آلِهِ وَصَحْبِهِ أَجْمَعِينَ, and upon his family and his companions, and altogether, every single person. Ajma'in is therefore ta'keed for emphasis. Again, I'm just short to mention as-salah upon the Prophet ﷺ. That's you asking Allah, saying, "Oh Allah, mention and praise your beloved Prophet in the highest of gatherings in the presence of the angels." And as-salam upon the Prophet ﷺ, that is to ask Allah Ta'ala to protect the Prophet ﷺ from every harm that may come his way. And of course, Al-Amin, that's something he was called by even the Quraysh. The disbelievers used to call him the trustworthy one. They used to trust him and leave their items with him. The author says, وَبَعْد فَقَدْ سَنَحَ بِخَلَدِي أن أختصر كتابي المسمى بكافي المبتدئ الكائن في فقه الإمام أحمد بن محمد بن حنبل الصابر لحكم الملك المبدي ليقرب تناوله على المبتدئين ويسهل حفظه على الراغبين ويقل حجمه على الطالبين، وسميته أخصر المختصرات لأني لم أقف على أخصر منه جامع لمسائله في فقهنا من المؤلفات. So he said, it occurred in my mind that I should make my book, which is called Kafi Mubtadi. I should make it concise. Now, what does it mean to make it concise? Meaning, its words are less, but its meaning is a lot. And we will see the examples of this when we read the book. So it'll be less words, but we can take so many things from it. We derive many benefits from it. Al-Ka'ina, which is based in the fiqh of Al-Imam Ahmad bin Muhammad bin Hanbal. So we call him Ahmad bin Hanbal, but Hanbal is his grandfather, rahimahullah. As-Sabir, the one who was patient, li hukmi, for the decree or the rule. So he's patient to the rule of the king, the originator, for Allah Ta'ala. As we know, Imam Ahmad, he went through a lot of trials. There's many imams, but he's mentioning this in regards to Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, because this is the fiqh we are following. So he's praising him. He went through a lot of trials, but he never backed down. He went through the pain, whatever the tyrant rulers did to him, the tyrannical rulers. Now, why did he make it concise? Why did he do the Akhsar? He says, لِيَقْرُبَ تَنَاوُلُهُ عَلَى الْمُبْتَدِئِينَ, so that its comprehension is easy for the beginners, and its hifz, its memorization, is easy upon those who desire to memorize it, and its size is small for the students of knowledge. And I called it Akhsar al-Mukhtasarat لأني لم أقف, because I have not come across على لم أقف على, I have not come across أخصر منه جامع لمسائله في فقهنا من المؤلفات. I have not come across one more أخصر, one more concise than it, yet so comprehensive at the same time in our fiqh. Subhanallah. You know Zad al-Mustaqni' by Imam al-Hajjabi rahimahullah. Why did he write that book? He says, look, I took it from al-Muqni', which al-Muqni' mentions two opinions. Imam al-Hajjabi, he said, I wanted to keep to one opinion based on the mu'tamad, the relied upon opinion in the fiqh of Imam Ahmad. Why? He says, because the desire to study knowledge has lessened, and he said this in his time years ago. The desire to study knowledge has lessened. وَالْأَسْبَابُ مُثَبِّطَةُ عَنْ نَيْلِ الْمُرَادِ قَدْ كَثُرَتْ, and the distractive matters, the things that distract people away from knowledge on gaining the true purpose, that has increased. So in short, he's saying the distractions have increased and the desire to study knowledge has lessened. So that's why he took al-Muqni' and he summarized it to one opinion. Yeah, Imam al-Balbani, he came and he said, I'm going to make the most concise one to make it easier for the students. So look how, subhanAllah, today people still want it to be easier. It's like they lessened as much as they could. May Allah have mercy on the ulama. They did the work for us. Everything we go back to is what they have said. Subhanallah. Wallahu as'alu an yanfa'a bihi qari'ih wa hafidhih wa nadhirih. And I ask Allah Ta'ala, and Allah Ta'ala, He's the one I ask, that He makes it a benefit, or He benefits by it, meaning He makes it means a benefit for the one who reads it, for the one who memorizes it. وَنَاظِرِيهِ, some may translate it as one who looks at it, but He already mentioned those who recite it. So نَاظِرِيهِ here, you can say those who study it. إِنَّهُ جَدِيرٌ بِإِجَابَةِ الدَّعَوَاتِ, indeed He is likely to answer the calls. Allah Ta'ala will answer our calls if we ask upon Him sincerely. وَأَن يَجْعَلَهُ خَالِصًا لِوَجْهِهِ الْكَرِيمِ, and that He makes it purely for His noble face. What does noble face mean? Because Allah Ta'ala, the wajh of Allah Ta'ala, this is sifah of Allah Ta'ala. Of course, when Allah Ta'ala says everything will be destroyed except His face, the Salaf did understand that to mean, of course, except for Allah Ta'ala. Because if the sifah of Allah wajh remains, then all of His other sifat will, all of His other attributes, sifat means attributes, will remain. So if Allah's wajh remains, of course Allah Ta'ala will remain. Only a fool would say otherwise and try interpreting it otherwise. Because that's how the Salaf understood it. So to be purely for His sake, is what it means. You can translate it like that, but of course you do not distort the meaning. You can translate it like that, but people generally translate it as faith. But to explain it, you can translate it as purely for His sake. But of course, we don't distort meaning and say wajh means his pleasure or the likes of that. No, wajh is a sifa of Allah Ta'ala, as Allah Ta'ala mentions it himself. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذِي الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. The face of your Lord will remain. مُقَرِّبًا إِلَيْهِ في جنات النعيم. What does it say here? I'm not sure. Wait. Oh, subhanallah. So, apologies. Yes, here says في جنان. It should be في جنات النعيم. So, as a means of seeking nearness to Him, is the gardens full of bounties, meaning paradise. وما توفيقي واعتصامي إلا بالله. And my success and steadfastness is only from Allah Ta'ala. عليه توكلت وإليه أنيب. Upon Him I rely, only upon Him I rely, and to Him only I turn. May Allah rectify and accept our niyyah and allow us to benefit from the hadith which are about to be mentioned. I'm about to mention them. إِنَّمَا الْعَمَلُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. The Prophet ﷺ said, all actions are by intentions. So every action you do, they're going to be judged by Allah based on your own intention. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. And for every person is what they have intended. The first part, إِنَّمَا الْعَمَلُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, the actions, they're based on what you intend. And you will be only judged by what you intend. So you must be intending to study knowledge for the sake of Allah, not to show off. Because if you do that, then there's no good. And the Prophet said, مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whoever Allah Ta'ala wills good for, then He makes him understand the religion. He grants him understanding in the religion. And that's straightforward. And the third one, the Prophet said, إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانُ إِنْقَطَعَ عَنْهُ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثَةٍ. When a person dies and all of his deeds are cut off except for three. إِلَّا مِنْ صَدَقَةٍ. Charity. So if you give in charity, then you pass away. Let's say you build a well and you pass away. Even when you pass away, everyone who drinks from that well will, obviously they'll benefit from the water and you'll get the reward for it, even when you pass away. Or if you donate a Quran to someone, every time someone recites from the Quran, you'll get the reward for it, even after you pass away. أو علم ينتفع به, or knowledge which someone benefits by. So if I teach this knowledge, for example, and it's beneficial for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, sincerely for Allah, not for showing off, and I pass away, even if someone watches this video after I pass away, inshallah I'll still be rewarded. And I hope that, of course, everyone does hope that they are rewarded. May Allah grant us Jannatul Firdaus and grant us many rewards. أو ولد صالح يدعو له, or a pious child who makes dua for him. So if you have a child, make sure he's pious. Make sure he wants to make dua for you. If he makes dua for you, then this is beneficial. Because anyone who makes dua for you after you pass away, it will be beneficial. And that's why you should study fiqh and teach the deen. Because these are things which will benefit you even when you pass away. And you do it for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. Many ulama, they didn't gain fame when they were alive. They gained it after they passed away. The books became famous after they passed away. So you might think, oh, no one's benefiting from you. But inshallah, if you do it for His sake, then of course, you will find benefit. Wallahu Ta'ala a'lam. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Subhanahu wa bihamdik. La ilaha illa anta astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, next lesson we will start with the Kitab al-Tahara, the book of purity.